O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Order! Continue, Ms. Garner.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day.
Objection! My credit card doesn't earn double miles on every purchase.
I object to your objection. With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase.
Order! Please read Counselor's last statement.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase.
I'll allow it.
No further questions, Your Honor. Well, just one. What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA N.A.
A radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
Give them the
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios, hanging out with you. Of course, the text board is open as always at 609-403-0973. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can watch the show here on 97.3 ESPN, a Tuesday edition. Got a lot to get to today. Eagles news, Sixers news, Flyers back on the ice tonight. We got Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, joining us coming up at 6:20 p.m. tonight. So we got Kevin joining us coming up on the show. Also, you guys out there, we'll get to your thoughts on what's going on with the Eagles and the Sixers as well. Again, you comment as you watch the stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. And of course, text board is open 609-403-0973. Over at 973ESPN.com right now, a couple details, a couple news stories. First of all, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons will be out until it looks like at least the weekend. They will not be with the team when they go down to Chicago from the break. So that is one thing that has been confirmed. All right, we actually know that for a fact now. That is something that we could actually definitively state. Now, the details are, it's a little complicated, all right? And we have all the details over at 973ESPN.com about how this works out for the Sixers and their schedule. But basically, here's the deal. The league requires the players to have a certain number of negative tests in a row before they let them return to team facilities and to playing, all right? Typically, it's 5 to 7 days of consecutive negative tests. Now, the reason why they want it 5 to 7 days is because the working theory out there is that contact tracing is based on if you were around somebody who tested positive for COVID-19, how long were you around them? How much contact did you have with them? And that kind of determines what your window is. And because the results of a COVID infection don't always show up for about 5 to 7 days, that's why they're saying it's typically 5 to 7 days for these quarantines, all right, of consecutive positive tests. Now, it looks like in Simmons and Embiid's case, it's 7 days, which projects that they both got their haircuts right before the weekend. So, first of all, obviously, it's going to be an interesting game when they return versus the Bulls on Thursday. You can hear that right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. And it should be Tobias Harris and the rest of the team versus the Bulls. Not a game that you're sitting there thinking you can't win. Friday's game versus the Wizards, again, not a game you don't think you can win. But without Ben Simmons, potentially, you are dealing with two of the best young scorers in the league in Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. So that's really what the concern is. The concern isn't specifically Embiid and Simmons' situation. It's the fact that you're going into these games, which are winnable games, without your best defensive player named Ben Simmons. So that's number one. Number two, as long as they keep, testing negative, there's going to be no problems. All right. They're going to come back. They're going to be fine. If there is a positive test, that creates a whole new wrinkle in the whole situation. And Obviously, I'm not going to do a lot of conjecture. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that's the latest on the Sixers. And Embiid and Simmons would not be available until the weekend. So obviously, they're quarantining. They got to keep testing negative, and all the details are over at 97.3ESPN.com. I think that it's fair to say that, whether we're thrilled about the situation or not, the NBA has been very consistent in their application when it comes to these protocols. This is not a only the Sixers or only the Nets or only fill in the blank situation. This is a broad application. Like it or not, this is what we're dealing with. And until we're completely done with this pandemic and such and such, this is what we got to deal with. So it's just a shame it happened to the Sixers. That's really what it comes down to. The other Eagles news that came out today, the Eagles are still working toward getting under the salary cap. And the reason why that's news is because the Eagles are actually being able to make some progress. So you remember they had the restructures over the weekend. It was on Friday. This news about Jason Kelsey and Darius Slay came out. Total projected savings for those guys is $9.2 million. Now they've released Blake Countess and Trevon Hester. That's another $1.77 million. So it looks like the team is getting closer and closer to at least the minimum they have to be under the cap. Now, the reason why that's relevant is because there was a tweet by Adam Schefter yesterday that I personally retweeted that I thought was a very interesting point by Schefter. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up here is because as the Eagles continue to work toward getting under the cap, the original projection was $180 million a couple weeks ago. But Schefter reported late last night, one league source on the Dak Prescott deal says, quote, "You know what this is. This is Jerry Jones tipping off the extraordinary TV deal coming," unquote. And for those who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, I'll share the tweet on the screen here for you guys to check out. But this is important. This is an important thing to keep in mind, because when you think about this, Jerry Jones potentially telling the world about the TV deal that's coming, this is important to keep in mind. Never overlook the fact that Jerry Jones is the businessman first above anything else. It's not like they just one day decided, you know what, Dak, whatever you want, we're just going to give you because we're nice people. The Cowboys don't work like that. All right. There's a rhyme and a reason why all of a sudden Stephen Jones and Dak's agent were able to hash out this deal after months and months of them just not being able to make anything work. Months and months of them unable to get the deal done. You went for months with the Cowboys with their foot in the ground, making no progress. And then one day it was, you know what? Let's get the deal done. There had to be a catalyst. There had to be an instigator for that. And I think that this report by Schefter that's getting overlooked by some people has a lot to do with that. And we'll get to Dak in just a minute specifically, but the Sixers, if there's any potential that the Eagles, I should say, when they get the official salary cap number, that it's more than 180, it's not just going to help them. It's going to help everyone in the league. The Saints are having under the cap. There's a bunch of teams that did not put franchise tags because of the salary cap. Think about it. Why on earth were two safeties franchise tagged today? I mean, for the last 2 days. Because safeties cost less, some other players. Their franchise tag number is going to be less. There's a reason why Chris Godwin got tagged and Shaq Barrett didn't. Because Shaq Barrett is one of the best defensive players when it comes to edge rushing in the league. Whereas Chris Godwin was basically the second or third receiver on the Bucs. Two different scales, two different setups. So these teams, they're tagging people because they say, all right, we know we can or can't do this because of the salary cap. So we are going to respond in kind. So teams are already making decisions about the salary cap based on money that they think may or may not be available. And now you got Jerry Jones potentially telling the whole world that a big TV deal is coming. I just don't think it's a coincidence. Now, speaking of the Dak Prescott deal, specifically, I say good for Dak. I've always been a guy who is behind the player getting paid. I've always been a big believer in this is a once-in-a-life opportunity. If you can get paid, get your money, I'm happy for you. You are worth what someone's willing to pay you. I'm a big believer in that philosophy. People get so bent out of shape about, oh, is this guy worth this? Is this guy worth that? He's overpaid. No, I don't agree with that. You are worth what someone's willing to pay you. Okay, if someone walked up to you at your job and is willing to pay you more money than the people at your current employment is there, you would consider taking that money. It doesn't matter what the cost is. So for Dak, he got what the going rate was for a starting quarterback who elevates his team goes for. Because we saw what the Cowboys looked like without Dak Prescott. We looked how bad they were without Dak. They were horrible. They were a dumpster fire. They were a mess. So he's important to that team, and they had to pay him accordingly. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's an average annual value of about $40 million. It's a ton of money up front. It's a ton of money to work with. But the Cowboys had to do it because if the Cowboys were serious about winning anytime soon, making playoff runs, you have to have Dak Prescott. Because there's no guarantee you were getting Russell Wilson. I felt pretty comfortable saying I don't think the Texans would trade Deshaun Watson to the Cowboys. Who else were you getting? Who were you going to convince to come to you? Who were you going to get to come there to replace Dak? Because the two best options were probably not happening in Watson and Wilson. Jared Goff already got traded. Jimmy G, the 49ers sending mixed messages. One hand, they say that, they want to keep Garoppolo and they want him to be their quarterback. And then by a couple months earlier, they were undecided about the quarterback position. They were still evaluating. Remember that? Wentz has already been traded. Trubisky's a free agent. Ryan Fitzpatrick's a free agent. Alex Smith, how about that guy? So are any of those guys really better options than Dak Prescott? No. So you had to give in to his demands. Because if you're Jerry Jones and you are serious about having another Super Bowl appearance before you die, you got to sign the guy who has the best chance of getting you there. Now, what you do after that is your decision. I heard some people discussing this morning that because of the way Ezekiel Elliott's contract is set up, you could maybe get out of that in the next couple of years. And I personally would get out of it if I was the Cowboys because you paid him before you paid Dak. And we saw how uneventful the Cowboys offense was with Zeke out there and no Dak. It's a big difference. Zeke is not the running back he used to be. The offensive line is the line it used to be. So you got to shore up the rest of the team. But it starts with Dak Prescott because at least with him, you had faith that you had a chance in every single game. Every game. Every game you went out there, you had a chance. You had a chance to make it work. You had a chance to win games with Dak Prescott. And that's really, I hate saying it like this, but that's the minimum of what you need in the NFL. Because I don't need my quarterback to be the MVP every game. I don't need my quarterback to be a superstar. I need my quarterback to not lose me a game. I need my quarterback to run the offense and be a leader. I need my quarterback to put me in a position to be successful. I don't need my quarterback to be the greatest of all time every single game. You saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes. Does anybody think that Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL? Anyone in their right mind believes that. But no offensive line, it didn't matter. There was no Mahomes magic to make up for that situation. So When it comes to Prescott, he can get all the money that he wants. And Jerry Jones had to give it to him. But Jerry Jones better also realize, as long as his son Stephen Jones, that if they walk out of this draft with a bunch of guys that they may or may not need, you did a complete disservice to the organization. You need offensive line help. You need a ton of defensive help. Last year, the defense was DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, Aldon Smith for about 6 games, and basically you and me, and that's it. They didn't have anybody. It was horrible. It was pathetic at times. I know Xavier had a couple of nice plays last year. All right. I'm not thrilled. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed. Okay, Randy Gregory had a couple of games. I'm not thrilled. I'm not impressed. You need more. You were an abomination of the defense. It was not just because your defensive coordinator was not even deserving of the job. So if the Cowboys, listen, okay, you took care of Dak. Now what? If I'm the Cowboys, I actually get on the phone and start calling the teams in the top 4 in the draft and see who's willing to trade out and what it's going to cost. Because if I'm the Cowboys, I'm trading up for Penei Sewell. Everyone talks about that guy in the draft. And I remember watching him at Oregon. The dude's a monster. The dude is athletic as anybody I've ever seen in the college level. And I know people may say, well, he didn't play for a year. He played for Oregon. He didn't play for a traditional powerhouse, blah, blah, blah. Listen, if you're the Cowboys, you're serious about winning, you got to get somebody like that. You got to get a blue chip player. And I said about the Eagles too. These NFC East teams were abominable for a reason because they didn't have enough blue chip talent. They weren't healthy enough. They didn't have the talent. So you know what? You got to walk out of the draft if you're the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, and Washington and say, I need more talent. Because you know, at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes couldn't win you a Super Bowl without enough people blocking in front of him. Game night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get your thoughts a little bit later this hour at 609-403-0973. And as you watch on the stream at Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But coming up next, we're getting the Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN. 7 o'clock is the coverage. Kevin Durso joins us next here on 97.3 ESPN FM. The 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. 97.3 ESPN.com for all your Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, and high school sports coverage in South Jersey. And of course, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show live at the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on 97.3 ESPN.
And this is just me. You can go get one of these quarterback experts that'll tell you different. These quarterbacks that's coming out in the draft, who's better than Jalen Hurts? In all honesty, who's better than Jalen Hurts and these guys coming out in this year's draft?
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. If you've been waiting for the best deal you can find on a brand new Chevy, then your wait has paid off big time. Right now, during Bennett Chevy's March Markdown event, you can save up to 25% off many of our most popular models. That's right. With Bennett Chevy's famous GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keeping all the rebates, that's up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, for a limited time, there's 0% financing available on our hottest Chevy models. Got an old beater? Get it to Bennett for an unbeatable $7,000 minimum towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $7,000. Imagine what we'll pay for a good trade. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So buying at Bennett's always a pleasure with no need to negotiate, plus there's never any sales pressure. Get to Bennett Chevy during our March Markdown event and find new roads. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call. But managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS. Savings vary. Not all patients eligible for savings. Delivery restrictions apply. Visit CVS.com for details.
When you want experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence.
Right now, Dennisville Fence is installing your neighbor's new fence. Right now, another neighbor is signing up for their new fence job. Right now is the best time to get started on your new fence or railing project, because right now, the pandemic is causing major supply chain delays. What used to take days can now take weeks or months. So the earlier you start on your new fence or railing project, the more likely you'll finish your project on time, and the sooner you'll enjoy more privacy, safety, security, and style. Don't delay your new fence or railing project. Get started today. Dennisville Fence is open, and we are now scheduling new estimates for spring installations and also offering material sales for DIY and new construction projects.
Go with experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE.
Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
That meeting's starting at 4. Can I get those projections?
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Karen, do these numbers look right to you?
Like at Mia's research firm. To hit client deadlines, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Mom, I'm hungry. Popcorn?
We should live stream this.
Already am. With this new plan from Walmart Family Mobile, I get 40 gigabytes of high-speed data for under $40 a month. It's a limited time deal. Ooh, watch out, loose ball.
Whoa.
That's double the data with no contract or surprise fees. Yay, buzzer beater. All powered by T-Mobile's nationwide network. Makes me feel like I'm a step ahead.
Available at Walmart. Double data ends July 31st, 2021. Hotspot does not double. See terms at myfamilymobile.com. Walmart Family Mobile.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Now, Town Square Media has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with Town Square Media. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Start growing your business today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
What you doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks Online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Flyers back in action tonight. Hopefully tonight is the night they can get back on track after a couple losses in a row. Fans were in the building on Sunday. They had a little juice. They couldn't hold on to the juice. What does that mean for the team coming in tonight? Buffalo, they're not a good team. So this is the game that you should win. Well, joining us right now from the Wells Fargo Center is Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider over at 97.3 ESPN. We got all of his work. Kevin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I see that they're behind you. I see a few people moving around, scurrying around. So obviously this is day 2 of fans back into the building. And I just mentioned one of my big takeaways from the game on Sunday, Kevin, was listen, they had fans there. It felt like they were juiced by the fans, but the season only lasts for a quarter and a half. They just looked like a tired team by the end of the game.
Yeah, they did, and there's no excuses for that. The schedule is what it is. Every team's got to go through it. But this team looked kind of the same way they did on Saturday. I felt like once the game was tied at the end of the second period on Saturday, they didn't have the energy to match the Penguins in the third period, and that's why they lost that game. And the same thing happened on Sunday. They had a good start. They were very energized, and even into the second period, they had some scoring chances. It just all fell apart for them late in the period, about 5 minutes to go, and 2 goals, and that's what take care of it really quick for you. So that's how Washington was able to get the edge. They had the legs in the third period to put the finishing touches on it, and the Flyers didn't. So after a complete day off yesterday, they need to have the legs tonight for sure.
Now, speaking of the legs tonight, I know that there were some changes on the lines going into this game. So I talk about some of those line changes for game 23 of the season.
Yeah, the Flyers have kind of utilized some of the same things they've already done so far. Nolan Patrick's on the fourth line tonight, so that's kind of a thing that was already starting on Sunday. It's just a way to kind of keep some of the lines together. Alain Vigneault did say he's not touching the top line of Sean Couturier, Joel Farabee, and James Van Riemsdyk. Same thing with the Kevin Hayes line, which had Travis Konechny and Scott Lawton on it. He likes what they've done so far. They came close to scoring a couple of times in that last game, so they stay put. And really, there was nothing different about the third line either. Claude Giroux is still a part of that line, Oscar Lindblom and Jake Voracek. And the only difference there is, again, Claude Giroux kind of goes back to the center position there, which is different for him because he hasn't played a lot of it in the last few years, but it was very successful the one game they did have it that way before Joel Farabee was able to come back into the lineup. So they're going to probably look to that and see if it can't provide a spark as well.
I really like that Hayes connecting Loughton line, Kevin, because I feel like it's a nice balance of styles, right? It's a nice balance between Konechny's that scrappy little guy has got the speed. Hayes is the big monster in the middle, and Loughton's that guy who does a little bit of everything out there.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Konechny's that small guy who plays a bit of a big game because he's very gritty in those areas. Hayes is just a big presence and can use his body really well to protect the puck and move it around. And then Lawton's kind of just a jack of all trades. He really fits the mold of both types of players. He can be scrappy, but he can also be a really solid two-way player. So they get all sorts of combinations with those three, and it's a really good line to have. They had them together, I believe, during the playoffs at one point in time as well, so it seemed to work then a little bit, and they're going to try to get that working again. So it's another one of those combinations that the Flyers are trying to use to get something going, because these last four games really haven't been what they could have been, and it's not like the Flyers are that far off from being the team that people think they could be, but they also don't look close either. So it's kind of that mixed bag of results where they're creating opportunities. They look like they just need to finish on a couple of them, but there's also a lot of concerns when it comes to the special teams and some of the defensive play.
Kevin Durso joining us here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers versus Buffalo tonight, top of the hour on 97.3 ESPN. Follow Kevin on Twitter for your Flyers and NHL coverage at Kevin_Durso on Twitter. Kevin, you mentioned the defensive issues. It's something that has not been, it's barely been fixed, honestly. I was kind of hoping personally that you would see a little bit more when Couturier came back. I felt like that was maybe only like one or two games, and it hasn't been resolved since. You've talked about some of this comes down to fundamentals, right? This is a issue at times where the fundamentals are really not lining up. So is this team ever going to get better defensively, especially with the forwards? Or is that something you just you have to suck up and deal with the rest of the year?
Well, they honestly have to, because you don't know if help is really going to be coming at all. I mean, you have a month until the trade deadline, and sure, you'd like to be looking for extra help. You'd like to see somebody come in who might be able to shore up the defense in the back end and give you another top four presence. But collectively, forwards and defensemen, you've got to figure it out right now. You don't have time to waste to figure out whether or not you can get to a certain point without getting a piece from the outside to help you get better. You have to correct it right now, and we've seen the Flyers kind of go through a bunch of different combinations here to see if they can find something that sticks. Phil Myers has played with Ivan Provorov a couple of times. They've had Shane Gostisbehere up there. Gostisbehere moves back down the lineup sometimes. They put Travis Sanheim with Justin Braun. They just mix it all over the place just to try to find something that works. And some of that isn't just the defensive play by the defensemen or by the forwards at 5-on-5. Quite frankly, I think their 5-on-5 defensive play hasn't been terrible. It's had its moments where they, more often than not, they're actually just shooting themselves in the foot. They're making a mistake that leads to a transition or leads to a grade A chance the other way, and they're not in position to cover it. Not necessarily lack of coverage at 5-on-5. So they really need to just find a way to shore up special teams and stop making these really bad mistakes that they're making that have pretty much always ended up in the back of their net.
Speaking of the back of the net, we see Carter Hart is expected to be back in net tonight after the game on Sunday. What do we expect to see from Hart tonight coming off of the Sunday loss, I should say?
Yeah, I think what you're going to expect to see anyways, they're trying to get him to have another confidence-building game. Playing him against Buffalo just over a week ago, he got a shutout, and it seemed like it was the turning of a corner for him where he could start to put together some solid results. You know, the game in Pittsburgh didn't go the way he wanted to, and then you also have to factor in, the Sunday game wasn't completely a bad game from him. There's probably one that he wanted back, but for the most part, he played a solid game, especially for the first 35 minutes of the game. He was outstanding up until they found a way to get that first one, which it's Alex Ovechkin right in the front of the net. Not many people are stopping that shot. So he's played really well in that game to that point, and I think they're looking to continue to build his confidence against a team that's really struggling.
Kevin, when you think about the big picture for the Flyers, obviously where they sit in the standings, they're right on that edge right now when it comes to the top 4 in the playoffs. I thought it was an interesting point that you and Broads brought up on the Open Ice Hits podcast about how these teams that are right there on the cusp, they got to make decisions. Like you saw Calgary, they fired the head coach after a win, right? So what is the decision the Flyers have to make? I don't think it's going to be firing the head coach. I think Vigneault is pretty secure in his job, unless you know something that I don't. But what is the thing the Flyers can do to really make up that difference? Because they got to differentiate at some point.
Well, the move that they can make is trying to get a top 4 defenseman in here, and if they can work out a deal with somebody as the deadline gets closer, realistically right now, the deadline is still so far away, so many teams, that there's the opportunity to still move up and down in the standings to determine what your future holds this season. So not a lot of deals are going to be made right now. But in about a month's time, as you get closer to that deadline, it will start to breed some action here, and it will start to lead to teams trying to figure out the best that they can get for certain players. So if you look at a team down the road, if Nashville is still having their problems and they decide they want to put Matthias Ekholm on the trade block and make a deal, and you can find a way to part ways with a draft pick or a prospect or some combination and make your team better while still fitting under the salary cap, you have to do it. That's probably the move they can make, but in the meantime, I think they can't look any further than the game that's in front of them, and tonight is a good example of it, because I don't want to use something that's overused often in sports that say it's a must-win game, but it's a very important game because this is a team that's struggling badly right now, and they're going to be without their top player in Jack Eichel as well. So there's 2 points out there for the taking, and you've got to take advantage.
You mentioned about defensemen, and I know this guy is no longer a top-tier defenseman like he used to be. I mean, and I saw someone mention this before, so you can tell me if this is legitimate or not, Kevin. Any possibility the Flyers can maybe call the Devils and see if they want to trade Subban? Because I feel like he still has something in the tank. He may not be an elite defenseman anymore, but he has something in the tank.
I'm going to say no to that one just because I don't think his style fits what the Flyers need.
Okay.
He's a good puck mover, and he can do some things on the power play and be that type of player. But I just don't think that he's the mold that they need. They need somebody who's more stay-at-home than he is. He's not that type of defenseman. So, not only trying to make a deal within the division, that would be probably tricky as well, but I don't think he fits what they'd be looking for.
Now, that leads me to my other question, which is the other tricky thing about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a team in the United States, you make a deal with a team in Canada, that comes with its own layer of issues, right?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But the quarantine rules that they have, you're basically looking at sending a guy to, if you're trading with a team in Canada, you're looking at some form of quarantine that takes a longer period at a time, especially if you're sending players there. That could halt a deal with a team that's in that part of the, that in another country. That could halt the deal completely because you're going to have to wait 7 to 14 days for that to work itself out, and that can be too long for some teams. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different dynamics that go into it. Another thing that people are thinking about is expansion draft coming up in the offseason, and who they're going to have to protect and who they're going to have to make available and expose to Seattle when the time comes. And it's very possible that you could be trying to acquire a player who you have to protect down the line, and that's something to always keep in mind as well, because if you have a lot of young players like the Flyers do, you want to be mindful of who's available and make sure you're not exposing somebody that could be a huge loss down the road.
Kevin, the key for the Flyers tonight at the end of the night will be what if they win tonight?
Special teams. I think if they can, first of all, I think if they can stay out of the box, that'll be a huge help because, Buffalo is surprisingly, for everything else that's going on around them, they're ranked 3rd in the league in power play. So, and now a lot of that is due to Jack Eichel's presence, and he's not in the game tonight, but you don't want to even give them the opportunity. And then on the other side, I mean, if you can find a way, if you do draw some penalties and get a handful of power plays, the Flyers were 0 for 4 on the power play in Sunday's game. Just one goal probably could have changed that game around, especially if it was earlier in the game. If it was before the Capitals got on the board, you might have turned that game more in your favor, had the crowd even more behind you, and made it a nightmare for Washington to try to come back in that game. But instead, you let them kind of hang around, and when they finally got going and really found that opportunity, they were able to take over. So I think if you can strike on the power play at least once in this game, and then also find a way to stay out of the box or at least be successful on the penalty kill, that could be the difference between winning a game and losing a game against this team.
Kevin, before I let you go, we have a question or a comment, I should say. Somebody watching on Facebook, Ox chimes in on Facebook. I'll read it for all the listeners. Says, the Flyers have plenty of 20-goal scorers we could trade a good defenseman for. I want to know your reaction to that.
I don't know if they have plenty of 20-goal scorers, to be honest with you. I mean, for all the years that we've seen the same guys, I mean, I'm not trying to sit there and say there aren't guys with potential to score 20 if you're still classifying Claude Giroux that way and Jake Voracek that way and throwing in guys like Sean Couturier, Joel Farabee, things like that. But, you know, I don't know that you can call Oscar Lindblom, who was on track for that a year ago, a 20-goal scorer just yet, because he's still coming back from his cancer treatments and trying to get back into game shape. Game. Same with Nolan Patrick. I don't think you can classify those guys as 20-goal potential scorers or things like that. I'm sure that they were lumping in guys like James Van Riemsdyk into this category as well. I'm not saying that you couldn't afford to possibly trade one of them, but I think really the meat of the deal, if you're going to make a deal for a defenseman or anybody out there, is going to be in draft picks and prospects more than anything. You need to find one player currently on your team who you feel like you can part ways with. Maybe it is a guy who does score a little bit, but ultimately, you need to have the picks and the prospects to, I think, get the deal done.
He's Kevin Durso. Follow him at Kevin_Durso for your Flyers coverage. You got his work over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Open Ice Pitches, the podcast for himself and pros. His all guest appears on the Boardwalk kind of hotline. Kevin, enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Flyers versus Capitals at the top of the hour. Steve Coates, Tim Saunders calling all the action. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. That's right. You can listen to every Flyers game on your phone wherever you go. So if you're not near your radio, maybe you're not near a computer, you go to 97.3 ESPN.com. You got it right on the app. Of course, the app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. It's free for you to listen to Flyers action on 97.3 ESPN. All right, we'll get to more of your comments. We got people watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We got the text board 609-403-0973 with all you guys coming in next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And of course, as I said, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you till 7.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
They scored!
The Flyers host the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
Today just got a little more exciting because you have the chance to win $155 million with Powerball. Talk about a way to really shake things up. So keep it interesting and take your shot because anything can happen in Jersey.
Get the credit you deserve during Matt Blatt Kia's Madness in March sales event with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 75 months. Get to Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township because at Matt Blatt Kia, we want to get you approved today. And you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Plus, we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. So get out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. Put 0 down and get 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on every new 2021 Kia Sportage or take $2,500 off MSRP because
it's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on $1,333 per 1,000 borrowed. All Kia Motors factory rebates to dealer. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for complete details. Expires 4/5/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Now with Taco Bell's app, you can build a box filled with your favorites for just $5. Personally, I go with the chalupa.
What? You mean Crunch Wrap Supreme? Plus that beefy 5-layer burrito?
Perhaps you meant bean burrito, grilled with chips and nacho cheese sauce.
No, you got a vibe with cinnamon twists and a Baja Blast.
Eat like you with Taco Bell's $5 Build Your Own Cravings box, exclusively online or with the Taco Bell app. Must make selections from predetermined menu items at limited participating U.S. locations for a limited time online or in the Taco Bell app only. Contact store for prices and participation which vary. Drinks exclude freezes. Tax extra.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with, and it's risky to be indoors with them too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Making popcorn for movie night?
Whoa, who are you?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless. What if every time you tried a new streaming service, you had to buy a new TV?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, some wireless companies do that when you switch, make you buy a new phone.
Right.
But TracFone Wireless lets you keep your phone and your number and your network, and gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month.
Seriously, who are you?
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Oh, you're burning it.
Oh, no.
See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
O'Reilly. Save big during Power Torque Tools DIY Day sale at O'Reilly Auto Parts with great deals on socket sets, impact wrenches, and more. Right now, get $10 off a 200-piece mechanics tool set, plus earn double O-Rewards points. That means you'll get to your next reward even faster. Visit the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts today or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We are live at the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia in the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblattkia.com. Promise we will get to your thoughts and comments on the stream and at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Of course, Flyers again, top of the hour versus Buffalo. Hopefully Buffalo is the cure for their ills as they've lost a couple games in a row. The Flyers got to get themselves together because, I thought that Durso brought up a great point. He says a couple times now, whether it's here on Game Night with Mike Gill or other places like his podcast, Open Ice Hits. If you're a team right there on the edge, you got to put up or shut up. There's no playing around. This is a shortened, truncated season. The Flyers right now have 27 points on the year. They're 12-7-3. You're 2 points behind both the Penguins and the Bruins. The Bruins have your number. You found a way to beat the Penguins before, but then you lost the third game. You had a chance to beat the Capitals. You didn't beat them. The Islanders right now, they're only running away with the division in terms of the overall standings, mostly because of the fact that they've played more games than everybody else. They got 25, everyone has less. Capitals have played 24, Bruins 22, Penguins 24, Flyers 22. So realistically, the Islanders really don't have this insurmountable lead. They just look like they have a big lead because they have 25 games played this year. So if you're the Flyers, you got to do something. And you know what? Listen, kudos to Durso for not just being agreeable. He shot down my idea of PK Subban. But there's got to be somebody out there you can go get. There's got to be a defenseman that a team, okay, you don't trade in the division, right? And you can't trade with the Norse, as Kevin explained, because there's too many issues when it comes to legal issues and all that stuff when it comes to crossing the border. But you know what? Maybe you call a team like the Ducks, who are 8-12-6. Maybe you call a team in the Central Division like the Stars, who couldn't even get their season off the ground right because of COVID issues. And then right now they're 7-8-5. Okay. Or maybe you call the Red Wings, right? Who are just one of the worst teams in the entire NHL. You got to call somebody, because I like what Ox said here over on the Facebook feed. Ox watching us over on Facebook at 973 ESPN. He says of the Flyers, we need defense. The other teams are having a picnic in the crease. And Ox is right. You cannot win if your defense is that bad. I don't care what sport it is. You can't win baseball games if nobody can field the ball. You can't win football games if your defense gets run over. You can't win basketball games by just outscoring everybody every night. At some point, you got to play defense. It's not a rocket science thing. The Flyers need more help on defense. And if it's not PK Subban, it's got to be somebody. And I hope Chuck Fletcher doesn't sit on his hands and just try to say, well, we couldn't get who we wanted. Listen, Durso brought it up. The Flyers have a lot to consider because they got to make a decision who they're actually going to protect when Seattle has the expansion draft. And maybe part of your decision of who you're going to protect or not protect for the Flyers is who you might trade to get said player for the here and now. And maybe the person that you would trade for has more value to you than the person who you would acquire, say more value in acquiring a player than a player that you would give away. Or maybe you look at a guy like, I don't know, Morgan Frost, and you're like, are you willing to bail on the Morgan Frost experiment? Well, maybe you are. So maybe you include him in a deal. I just hope the Flyers are not one of those teams that just does a very small, tiny move and then nothing else. Let's go over the text board, 609-403-0973. We open the show talking about the Eagles as well as the 76ers. Dan in EHT chimes in about the quarterback conversation. We talk about Dak Prescott getting that 4-year, $160 million contract. Dan from EHT says, good to great is what you need at the quarterback position. It's the difference in a season, not one game. It's the team being 6-10 or 10-6. You have to have real stability at the quarterback position. Now, Dan goes on to say, because I'm not afraid to be disagreed with, and Dan and I have good back and forth in the past. Dan says, I just feel that you undervalue the quarterback position, Josh. You have a 12-4 team, but not a 12-4 quarterback. If so, you're going 9-7. It can be flipped, I understand, but a really good quarterback gets you so much value. And Dan, listen, it's not that I undervalue the quarterback. It's the fact that I think as a general principle, everyone overvalues the quarterback. Because to me, yes, a really good quarterback, as you wrote, gives you so much value. But we act like there's so many of them. The bigger point, I agree with what you said, is you have to have real stability at the quarterback position. Donovan McNabb was never the best quarterback in the NFL, but he gave you stability for a decade at the position. A guy like Matt Hasselbeck was not the best quarterback in Seattle, but he gave you a time period of stability. Tony Romo, stability. Having a quarterback who is good to very good is important. I think the problem, Dan HT, is that people are always looking for a really good quarterback. They're looking for greatness. They're looking for the next Brady, the next Peyton Manning, the next Patrick Mahomes, the next Aaron Rodgers. And they forget that there's only a handful of those guys. Those are generational talents. And the problem is that when you talk about the difference between 6-10 and 10-6, with the quarterback position, or 12-4 and 9-7, you're overlooking the fact that Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback. His team went 7-9 consecutive seasons, didn't make the postseason. Wasn't his fault. He never led the league in interceptions. He didn't have a bunch of turnovers. He was having a great completion percentage. He played great in those years. The team went 7-9. Is Drew Brees not a Hall of Famer? Is Drew Brees not a great quarterback? Of course he's a great quarterback. Of course he's talented. Of course he's going to the Hall of Fame. But that's the problem, Dan. It's not that I undervalue the quarterback position. It's that I strongly value the players around that quarterback. Because even when you have the quarterback, things might not go right. If you don't have stability at the quarterback position, you don't have a chance. I agree with that. But so many times people are looking for great quarterbacks. That's the reason why teams are constantly drafting so high in the NFL draft. It's not because they have to have a great quarterback. It's because they know that they are in the situation they're in probably because their current or last quarterback was that bad. The Jets are talking about moving on from Sam Darnold, not because Sam Darnold can't play football, but a big reason is because the new head coach and the current general manager did not draft Sam Darnold. They are not invested emotionally or logistically in that quarterback anymore. They want to get their own guy. They want to get a guy that they feel they can build around. Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff, both led teams to the Super Bowl. They're not great quarterbacks. Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, won Super Bowls, not great quarterbacks. The quarterback position, I believe, is overvalued in terms of people's importance they've put on it. Because at the end of the day, as you saw with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, Dan EHT, if the offensive line isn't blocking, it doesn't matter. Your quarterback's going to get destroyed. Unless you have a quarterback who is putting you in a bad position each and every week, most quarterbacks in the NFL can get you to 9-7 and 10-6. You don't get to the NFL unless you have talent. I can name a bunch of quarterbacks who can get you to 9-7 and 10-6. It's a long list of guys because guess what? Jared Goff has done it. Matthew Stafford has done it. Kirk Cousins has done it. These are not legendary quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo has done it. Ryan Tannehill has done it. You can win games with good quarterbacks. And you can win Super Bowls with good quarterbacks. Teams still win championships. And you know what? If you're a team like, for example, I mentioned the Jets. If you pass on Penei Sewell for a quarterback, you might regret that. Now, unless you're completely out on Darnold and you trade him away, then you got to go quarterback for all intents and purposes. But if you're evaluating the Jets the last couple of years, how much was Darnold and how much was the rest of the team? I know it's hard to differentiate because the quarterback at times played so poorly. But I think we overlook at times that there is a huge problem in the NFL when it comes to roster building. There is a mishandling in the NFL when it comes to evaluating of talent. Mike Gill talked about it earlier on the Sports Bash. Look at the DK Metcalf situation. Every team in the NFL passed on DK Metcalf not once, but twice. They passed on him twice because of an injury issue. So what do? Do we just blame every general manager and every team's doctors and every evaluator on earth and say, you're all a bunch of idiots? Or do we accept the reality that, listen, it's something that happens? The NFL draft is full of misses. People act like you're supposed to get every pick right. You're never going to get every pick right. Even when the Steelers were drafting Hall of Famers left and right, they got picks wrong. Jack Lambert was not a first-round pick. Roger Staubach was not a first-round pick. Tom Brady was not a first-round pick. So when we have 8 wide receivers drafted ahead of DK Metcalf, guys like N'Keal Harry and Paris Campbell, it's because teams make mistakes. To me, the quarterback is one position. And if I can hit on more positions around that quarterback, I put him in a position to be successful. That's my philosophy. All right, thanks to Kevin Durso for joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be back tomorrow filling in for Mike Yell from 2 to 6 on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers hockey tonight versus Buffalo next on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app to listen to the game.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
March is National Nutrition Month, an annual campaign created by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to help us learn more about making informed food choices and developing healthy eating habits. This year's theme is Personalize Your